Hello. In this video, I want to summarise Chang Kim and Rennie Mauborgne's article, Blue Ocean Leadership. It appeared in the Harvard Business Review in 2014. I wanted to cover this article for two reasons. Firstly, it gives a great insight into how to conduct a blue ocean process, or value innovation process as it used to be called. This is useful for the broader application of their frameworks. Secondly, in the early 2000s, I was involved in one of the author's first applications of their method to leadership. In that case, in a leading UK financial services company. A project that also involved Gavin Fraser, who is rightly mentioned in the article. Kim and Mauborgne start the article with comments from the 2013 Gallup report into the state of the American workplace. It shows that only 30% of employees are actively committed to doing a good job, and 50% merely putting their time in. The remaining 20% act out their discontent, negatively influencing co-workers and driving customers away through poor service. Gallup estimates that this 20% costs the US economy $500 billion each year. And according to Gallup, poor leadership is a key cause. Now, managers don't intend to be poor leaders. The problem, according to Kim and Mauborgne, is they lack clear guidance on what changes it would take to bring out the best in everyone. They suggest that their approach, Blue Ocean Leadership, provides a solution for this. The author's underlying argument is that leadership should be thought of as a service that people in an organisation buy or don't buy. Taking this perspective then opens the way to use the Blue Ocean method that they promote in developing strategy. They suggest that this results in an approach to leadership very different from traditional leadership development, with its focus on values, traits and styles. In contrast, Blue Ocean Leadership focuses on what acts and activities leaders need to change to boost their team's motivation and business results. Note the focus on changing activities, what you do, as opposed to resources, what you have, such as a leader's traits and styles. Here is an important observation that applies in the wider use of the Blue Ocean method, that the focus, like Porter, is on activities. In Kim and Mauborgne's case, changing activities. While leaders still need to have the right values, qualities and behaviours, it is markedly easier to change a leader's activities. Kim and Mauborgne also suggests Blue Ocean Leadership differs from traditional development programs as it can be targeted at the specific needs of a company or management level, the top, middle and frontline leaders. With staff, the customers of leadership, engaged in the process of defining leadership practice, the output is a better fit in the firm and improves the likelihood of acceptance. In the next section of the article, Kim and Mauborgne step through the Blue Ocean process as applied to leadership, although it parallels the approach you will see in other applications. The first step is to see the current reality. A common mistake is to start discussing changes before resolving different opinions on the current situation, what leaders are currently doing. Here, managers need to capture the as-is leadership canvas, sometimes called value curve. This shows visually how managers invest their time and effort as perceived by the customers of their leadership. 3 canvases are produced, one each for top, middle and frontline managers. To do this, a team of 12 to 15 senior managers is selected from across the functions of the business, although in the process I was involved, this was a smaller team. All should be seen as good leaders, so the team has immediate and wide credibility. The team is then broken down into 3 sub-teams to focus on each of the leadership levels. To uncover how people experience current leadership, the customers of each level are interviewed by the team. They are asked what activities, good and bad, their leaders spend their time on, which are key to motivation and performance, and which are neglected. In this, getting specifics is important, and this involves a certain amount of probing. After 4 to 6 weeks of interviewing, sub-teams come together to produce the as-is canvas, pooling their findings by coding and frequency of citation. In creating the canvas, the team focuses on a maximum of 10 to 15 activities. With a cap, it ensures a focus on the most significant issues. It is not uncommon to find that 20 to 40% of activities on which leaders focus provide questionable value, while leaders also underinvest in a further 20 to 40% of activities which interviewees cite as important. In the article, Kim and Mauborgne give the example of a disguise company they call BRG. Here, the interview process shows the perception of middle management was one of leaders spending too much time playing politics. Specifically, this boiled down to the responsibility for any initiative being divided across more than one leader, so creating uncertainty about responsibility. Secondly, the amount of time middle managers spent in meetings with senior managers rather than supporting the front line was seen as an issue. The taglines for the as-is value curves convey in general what was found. For frontline leaders, the tagline was "please the boss." For middle managers, it was "control and play safe." And for top level, focus on the day-to-day. While the implications were depressing, the canvases did make a strong case for change at all 3 levels. The second step in the process is to develop alternative leadership profiles. Here, the sub-teams go back to their interviewees with 2 sets of questions. The first set are to identify which activities are absorbing leaders' time but adding little or no value, and which energize employees but are currently underinvested in or are not addressed at all. In the second set of questions, interviewees are encouraged to think beyond the firm and effective leadership they have seen that had a strong impact. Importantly, this is not benchmarking against corporate icons, but a focus on personal experiences of role models. Here, capturing the detail about acts and activities are important. The sub-team compiles the results from the interviews in the Blue Ocean Leadership Grid, elsewhere called the ERRC grid. The activities in the eliminate and reduce boxes address acts of little or no value. Cutting these creates space and time to raise and create activities that are currently underinvested in or come from outside the firm. Armed with the grid, the sub-team create 2 to 4 to-be canvases that seek to cover the issues and opportunities revealed. While not covered in the article, this process might use the 6 paths approach Kim and Mauborgne promote elsewhere to brainstorm mini canvases which are then merged to create the to-be canvases. The third step in the Blue Ocean leadership process is to select the to-be leadership profiles. After 2 or 3 weeks of drawing and refining the canvases, the sub-teams present them to a leadership fair. The fair attendees include board members and top, middle and frontline managers. The event starts with the sub-teams presenting the original as-is canvas. Typically, this is quite a sobering point, although the discussion is on the aggregate level rather than an individual level, so everyone feels the need for change. The sub-teams then present the optional to-be canvases, typically starting with frontline leadership. The canvases are stuck on the wall and attendees are allowed to vote for the ones they find most compelling. Middle level leadership and then senior level canvases follow in turn. Once all votes are in, the top management team meet outside the room and decide which to-be leadership profiles to move forward on. They then return to the fair and explain their decision. At BRG, over 125 people voted, and the 3 profiles that were selected were cut through the crap, later renamed cut through to serve customers for the front line, liberate, coach, empower for the middle level, and delegate and chart the company's future for top management. The authors stress how the fair left all attendees feeling strongly committed to these output canvases. For BRG, the cut-through curve pushed leaders to spend less time jumping through procedural hoops and more time on training frontline personnel, communicating and clarifying strategy, and celebrating success. The liberate, control and empower curve for middle managers shifted attention from controlling to supporting employees, so reducing oversight activities such as weekly reports and creating activities such as sharing best practice and aligning rewards with performance. Finally, the delegate and chart the company's future canvas for senior managers removed focus on firefighting and monitoring middle management initiatives. It put the emphasis on responding to external changes and removing bureaucratic blockages. Once the fair is completed, the original sub-teams communicate the results to the people they interviewed and brief and distribute the to-be canvases to leaders at each level. Managers are then challenged to pass the message on to their direct reports and explain how the new profiles will allow them to be more effective. They are also asked to hold regular meetings to gather feedback on the progress they're making. While these meetings can be unnerving for both the boss and employees, by focusing on specific examples rather than generic comments, whether good or bad, a mutual respect does take hold as they see change. At BRG, turnover among frontline staff dropped from 40 to 11% in the first year, reducing both recruitment and training costs by 50%. Total savings from these and lower absenteeism was worth more than $500 million that year. Customer satisfaction scores also seem to increase. In the last part of the article, Kim and Mauborgne give advice on how to execute Blue Ocean leadership. They highlight the importance of the principles of fair process, so engagement, explanation, and expectation clarity. Through fair process, buy-in and ownership of the to-be leadership profiles is achieved and trust is built. In particular, they highlight 4 elements. Firstly, ensuring respected senior managers spearhead the process. Rather than that being ceremonial, the involvement is hands-on. They conduct interviews and draw canvases. Secondly, people across the organisation are engaged in defining what their leaders should do. So senior leaders in the teams are engaged directly with staff at all levels. Thirdly, although top managers do have the final choice, the leadership fair allows people at all levels to have a say in that decision. And fourthly, by using the canvases and focusing on activities, it's easy to assess whether expectations are being met. There is clarity on what is required, and it is simple to monitor progress. Finally, Kim and Mauborgne summarised the article, stressing the need to improve leadership. In doing this, Blue Ocean Leadership, with its leadership canvases, give a concrete visual framework which can surface issues and discuss the improvements an organisation's leaders need to make. This, the authors claim, can transform the approach to leadership and in this have a marked impact on performance. So, what do we make of Kim and Mauborgne's article? Well, it is certainly an interesting example of how a strategic framework can be deployed in another area. There are similar crossovers for the RBV theory. It is also good to get more insight into the application of the Blue Ocean process and its focus on changing activities. I would also flag the inherent engagement and fair process aspects described in the article. This was something I saw firsthand in the Blue Ocean Leadership project that I was a part of. It certainly did generate a lot of buy-in and enthusiasm across many organisational levels, although some caution is obviously needed on the process, as this could have been a Hawthorne effect. It is worth commenting that while individual canvases are unique to that firm, there are significant similarities in those described in the article for BRG and those we developed in a large UK financial services firm. Indeed, the names of both the canvases for frontline and middle managers are virtually the same: Cut Through and Liberate in the financial services company. Across all, reducing and eliminating excess bureaucracy and approvals, blockages for service delivery, while raising clarity of communication and direction and increasing individual recognition were changes common to both firms. So perhaps areas of leadership that should be addressed unilaterally. Although, remember, do not just add. Space and time need to be created by removing activities as well. So overall, an interesting article that provides food for thought for organisations and for individuals. Thank you for watching.